All right, well, hello and welcome to the first episode of Talking Toolkits with Rick and Lou. And what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about what's in your songwriting toolkit and what that means. So we're going to talk about workflow today, discussing your songwriting workflow and your songwriting toolkit, and how do you get ideas from, or get from ideas to a recorded song. What's working for you and what isn't. And basically the goal is to make this a roundtable discussion so people can bring up issues that they might have or bring up anything they want, really, with respect to songwriting workflow, that is. This is a workflow workshop, not a therapy group. So yeah, basic definition of workflow. How do you go from ideas to a released song? What steps do you take along the way? And what tools do you use to make all that happen? So we figured we'd start with some introductions. And so just introduce yourself, and on a scale of 1 to 10, say how happy you are with your current songwriting workflow and tools, and one thing you'd like to take away from today. So I'll start. My name is Rick. How happy am I with my workflow? Probably about maybe a 5 out of 10 right now. I have a bunch of things I do, but I just like to make it all smoother and more automatic and easier to get from step to step. And one thing I'd like to take away from today is any useful idea somebody else brings to the table. Lou, do you want to go next?
Sure. For me, for my workflow, I mean, it's pretty new. I've only been writing for, maybe a year or two, couple years. And it feels like it's ever evolving. I feel like I'm about a 7 happy with it. But it's more towards the recording end and the mastering and that end that I think for me, I have more gaps in my knowledge or more to learn, figure out. But for the songwriting, the catching those ideas and for the songwriting parts, I feel pretty good about that. I'm happy to have a little bit of time just to chat to people, other songwriting, people who love songwriting, and just talk about it, right? Like, how do we do this? And maybe I'll hear some things that I can implement myself, right? So, yeah.
Thanks, Lou.
Okay, well, will I go next then? My name's Kirsty. I'd say I'm maybe the opposite of Lou, in that I think I am a better recording, producing, making an end product than I necessarily am at actually coming up with the song. My songwriting was a case of necessity being mother of invention. I used to kind of dabble in songwriting on and off throughout my life, but I had stopped, and I'd stopped for a long time, like 6 years. And during lockdown last year, I was really getting into my guitar playing and using GarageBand and doing a lot of recording, and I was doing a lot of cover versions. And I kind of got to the point where, what else am I going to play now? I've done all my Beatles songs, I've done all my Pink Floyd. What am I going to play next? I know, I'll try writing a song. And I wrote a song that was called Enough, which ended up being the title track of the album that I released. And the first verse of that is about having writer's block. But since I did that in the last 8 months, I would say I've written more songs in the last 8 months than I have in the previous 49 years. They've just come out. I mean, this 100 days I'm on 17, I think. They've just flown. Some are good, some are bad. I think what I would like to learn more of and be better at is actually tinkering with them. I tend to just finish the song. There you go. That's all. Move on to the next one. And don't, like I said to you earlier, Rick, before we started recording, I would actually like to be able to spend more time tinkering with them and getting them right and really fine-tuning them and polishing them up, which I don't think I really do at the minute because I'm just itching to get on with recording. that's my piece.
Okay. Gwen?
Hello. I think I'm really far at the other end of the spectrum. I approach it from a hyper right brain. I think I have almost no discipline. And when I'm on, it just pours out of me like a broken pipe. Hopefully it's a clean water pipe and not a sewer pipe. But it flows. And for me, it's almost like if something emotional happens that's constrictive, the pipe turns off. And I have a really difficult time using left brain tools to get it going again. Because what I hear a lot of other people doing, and it seems to work for them, is like, if you do a certain amount every day and then put them all together. And I have a really hard time with that. I get the idea behind it, but I feel like the instrument in my head that writes songs, I don't know if I can tune myself into that much production, but I'm definitely willing to try. Definitely willing to try. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Well, so the way next thing we were going to talk about was this sheet that Lou put together. So I'm just going to share my screen and find the bit that I want to share. So there we go. So you should all see a copy of the songwriting tools sheet that Lou put together. Yeah.
It looks kind of small on my screen.
Is it? Okay. See if we can embiggen it. How's that?
Oh yeah.
Better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
That's full screen now.
Okay. So yeah, Lou came up with this. Do you want to talk through this, Lou? The idea that you had?
Sure. I guess for me, I'm a person like I need to put stuff down to sort of be able to look at it and to kind of wrap my brain around it. And so I found this template that I adapted for songwriting. And I figured, okay, so what are the steps that I have when I'm writing songs? Because there's different modes that you can be in, right? And there might be different ways that I approach different parts of songwriting, and just getting a picture of what I currently have in my toolkit right now. And then looking at, well, what's working for me and then what's not working for me. And so that's what I was using this for. And that we can use this for is just to do kind of like to get that picture, if you want, to do that brainstorming and maybe just to be able to look at what's working for you, what are some of the gaps, that kind of thing.
Okay, so just going through each of these, and so I took this one and filled it in. So for the quick capture stuff, if I got inspiration, one thing we're always carrying around with us is phones these days, and most phones have a handy little notes app. So I use the notes app on iPhone, which conveniently is also shared with my Mac and my iPad. So whichever device I'm on, I get access to the same stuff. And there's a handy app that unfortunately isn't available anymore called Music Memos. It was an Apple app that you could download for iPad and iPhone. It still works, but you can't actually access it anymore. It's kind of like voice memos, but with some extra features for musicians. So music memos or voice memos on the phone is a handy thing for quickly getting something down, like a really rough, oh, but that's a cool lick or a cool chord progression, or here's a melody I'm going to go la 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 into my phone with. And the other option, of course, is good old paper and pen. So I have sort of brought those across here, but I have, you know, notebooks that I use are sort of 5x7 artists notebooks. I find it's a good page size, and I just use those for all my writing basically. So does anybody else want to share what their quick capture tools are?
I could share mine. So what I do, like when I was thinking this category, it's more like, let's say I'm doing the dishes, or I'm going for a walk and listening to a podcast or doing something, and all of a sudden I have this idea. Oh, I have a song idea. I want to write it down. I usually just use my phone and use a note writing app, and I just do a brain dump there and then review it later. So one that I use is called OneNote. It's a Microsoft product, and it works on any phone or any device, and it's free. So I use that, and I use voice memo for on my phone, just to record, let's say, a melody that comes to me. Yeah, that's what I do. I used to use pen and paper, but I don't anymore, because I don't carry it with me anymore. It seems I've moved over to the digital world, I guess. But I miss that.
Cool, thanks, Lou. Kirsty or Gwen, do you want to share anything on the capture side?
Yeah, I use a bit like you with the Notes app, Eric. I actually use Pages on my iPhone and on the Mac and on the iPad, and it's just shared across all of them. So whatever I've got, if I have a lyrical idea, I put it down on a Pages app. So I have this, it's currently about 45 pages long, and each one's got a different song on it. I'll need to split it up actually at some point. I don't actually record musical ideas at all. Usually the first time I've ever recorded a musical idea is when it appears on the 100 Days of Songwriting site. I just play it. I remember years ago reading an interview with Labi Siffre, if any of you have ever heard of him, songwriter. And he said, I never record any musical ideas on the day I write them, because if I can't remember them the next day, they weren't good enough. And that always stuck with me. And generally, once I've learned to play it on the guitar, I can remember it anyway. I just know the chords. So it's part of my quick capture is the guitar.
There you go. That's a good one. I remember reading that Lennon and McCartney used to work that way as well when they were, you know, teenagers jamming in Paul's bedroom. They'd be coming up with their own song, but they didn't have any way to write them down. So the good ones were the ones that they remembered the next day.
Seems fair.
Yeah. So you're certainly a good company there. Mick, just since you just joined us, we're going through this songwriting tools worksheet. We're just on the quick capture side of things. So sharing the tools that we use to quickly capture any inspiration when it strikes. Was there anything you wanted to share on that front, or should we move on? Okay, you're muted at the moment, Mick.
How about you, Gwen? Is there anything that you'd like to share about your process?
Sure. I'm glad you said that, Kirsty, because I've seen the Pages app on the phone, but I don't think I've ever opened it. So I think I'll try that. But I am pen and paper. And this is just kind of like reminding me I need more paper at different places around the house or in the car. If I just have more pen and paper available, because I tend to use whatever I can find. And at this point, it's been a lot of envelopes, or I'll write on anything if I can have a pen. But I do always have my phone with me, and I've seen the Pages app, so I think I should start trying to do that. I don't write music, but I hear it in my head. I have been learning more since I've been a part of this group, just so I can communicate with other people. So I've been using more of that, but like right now, it's like the words come first for me, and then the words kind of, I hear the rhythm of the words usually suggest a melody in my head, and then I'll pick around and find chords with guitar or a keyboard, and then figure out what the chords are afterwards. That's me, I guess.
Cool.
Let me come back.
Looks like it. Mick, are you there? Okay. Well, I guess we'll just move on to the organized bit. Mick, you can chime in when you feel like it. So organizing, yeah. So one thing I like about notes on the phone is that you can actually create folders in there. So let's see if we shrink this back down, minimize that. So on the phone, in the Notes app, so one thing I've got is pinned to the top of my Notes app. I have my song ideas note. So this is just a note that I capture everything in, and things get added to generally the top of it because that's the easiest place to add things. And it's full of, like, you know, thoughts that have crossed my mind, quotes from things I've read.
Rick, are you going to share your phone screen?
Oh, sorry, I thought it was. Oh, screen sharing's paused for some reason. All right. Why is screen sharing paused?
So I see, I still see that your 100 Days Toolkit. No, I don't.
Okay, so I will
All our faces.
turn off that. It could be that I need to start sharing again to share that particular thing. So there we go. Okay. All right. So sorry about that. So yeah. So I have this pinned note. You can pin a note in to the top of your list that has all the song ideas. And like I was saying, it's just everything, quotes, random thoughts, links to things on the internet that I read, or things that I read in books for that matter. There's a whole bunch of quotes from, yeah, various books that I read along the way. And then the other thing I've got is you can have folders in the Notes app. So I've got a whole bunch of different folders for all my 100 days work. So this is the one where I compose my daily posts that I've been keeping track of. And let's see. This is the one where I've got the demos I'm trying to do during the current 100 days. And then there's these ones that I'm not sure how well these are working for me at the moment, but we've got things like the, you know, the lyrics for the 100 Days EP challenge from last year that I didn't finish. Lyrics for songs that I've completed in the sense that I've actually got music and lyrics and I've recorded them somehow or played them. As you can see, there's only 2 of those so far. And then other ones that are things that are started or in progress. Started is like if I've got like a verse. In progress is if I've got a verse and a chorus. So started is kind of like this could become something, and in progress is this is becoming something. So that's how I use that.
I'm so impressed with how you've kept track of all your days, because I feel like how amazing is that to be able to go back and look at that, review that. That's amazing.
That is,
That's awesome.
oh, thanks. It's, yeah, it's, part of it is because we made this change we changed platforms at one point. We switched onto Mighty Networks from a sort of hand-rolled thing that that Rigel had put together previously. And so in doing that, we lost all the stuff that was previously there because it didn't get moved over. So I went through and grabbed all the previous posts, and I just figured this way I've got everything outside of the 100 days framework. And it's also, the other advantage there is it's all searchable there as well. So if it's like, I wrote this thing some time ago, when did I write it? I can just go into notes and search the notes and find the note that I actually had that idea in. So that's kind of useful for me.
That's really good. I have to say that the thing that really strikes me, Rick, from looking at your notes there is the lyrical ideas and just the scrapbook of articles and stories and things like that can provide inspiration. I think I might like to try that. Like I saw a folder there that you had that said lyrics needs music. I'm never going to have one of those. I will have music needs lyrics. But having a bank of things to go to that I can write about would really help me.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've gotten out of doing this, like something I've built up over the last 400 days of songwriting that I've been doing, because I literally joined this, like the 100 days that I started on began like the Friday before we went into lockdown in Ontario. So it was really good timing. Thanks, COVID. So yeah, so what was the next bit of this we were talking about was right, so tools for actually writing songs. So having gotten all these inspirations and snippets, what do I do? My main songwriting tool, like when it comes to lyric writing anyway, is paper and pencil, like paper and pen. I like to sit down with a notepad and write. So I find typing is kind of distracting. So typing kind of takes me out of what I'm doing. Whereas if I sit down with a paper and pencil, I can just write, and the ideas just kind of come. And the other thing is, like, it's one of those things where if you do some of the exercises that were in, I think it was kind of a 100 days starter workshop that Rigel put together, which is what I did during the first 100 days that I did. So there's just all these different kinds of writing exercises you can do, and they're all just way easier to do if you sit and write longhand, paper and pen, rather than typing. I mean, maybe if you're a touch typist and you can sort of think it and have it come out of your fingers when you're typing, that's a different matter, but I'm not, so I tend to rely on paper and pen for that. And then musically, oddly enough, although I'm mostly a guitarist, I've been using a keyboard lately to work out a lot of stuff, because I use a keyboard to find the melodies, and then from the melody I can find the chords. And I guess there's something about the way a keyboard's laid out that makes it a little different. And perhaps also being a guitarist, not a keyboard player, it kind of pushes me out of the comfort zone or the habit zone. So I don't just kind of pick up and play the same chords I would normally play on a guitar. So that's kind of why I tend to go to keyboards for some things. So, if I'm just jamming out on guitar, then that's, obviously that's just going to come out of the guitar. And when it comes to capturing ideas from that, that's where things like music memos or voice memos comes in handy, because I kind of feel like if I fire up Logic or GarageBand, I'm putting pressure on myself to do it right. Whereas if I'm just recording into, like recording an acoustic guitar into my phone. It doesn't matter what it sounds like. It's not going to be the final product. So I kind of take pressure off myself by just doing that. So yeah, so that's what I used to write. Oh yeah, the other thing is a thing called Rhyme Zone, a site called Rhyme Zone, which is kind of a rhyming dictionary site. I see some nodding, so I just use that if I've run dry on rhymes, or if I'm looking for like a rhyme to give me some inspiration, then I'll play around with that.
I use a combination of RhymeZone and thesaurus.com.
Yeah. And what else what other things do you use to sort of capture the in the songwriting process once you've got past the idea stage?
It's kind of just the same as the quick capture. I just keep going back to that initial pages document that I've written, and I'm just constantly deleting bits, adding bits, shuffling things around until I'm happy enough with it, and then I record it. Now sometimes what you get with, I try and post every day on 100 days. Sometimes you get stuff and then the final version has completely different lyrics, or partially different lyrics, or moved about lyrics, or a slightly tweaked melody, but there's no other application that I'm going to. It's just I'm playing this on the guitar, and I will just play it and sing it to myself until I'm happy with how it goes, and then I'll record it. I don't really write it down anywhere until it's ready to go.
Cool. Lou or Gwen, either of you want to chime in?
Gwen, I'm kind of curious. I know that previously you had mentioned, like this was like months ago on a Zoom call, that you were figuring out the recording pieces, right? And I'd be interested in knowing, like, have you started to do any like even capturing songs, like when you've done your first draft or anything like that? Like what do you do now? I think you're still on mute. Yeah.
I am so far behind. You ever heard that saying, I'm so far behind, I think I'm first? Let's see if I can do this now. I'm just gonna, this is my recording equipment. Let's see if I can. Everything is under a box right now. I don't know if you can tell, but I have this lovely Tascam 24-track recorder, couple of monitors, which are in a box. Everything's in there back in the box. It was like I had gotten everything out of the box, and I was learning the equipment when I burned my throat. And I'm still coming back from that awful thing that happened, and it just kind of shut me down. I was ready to start that night. I was feeling just like really brave. It's so emotional. I mean, I'm sure it's emotional for everybody, but I feel like I run on that. Like my creativity runs on just a very emotional track. It's like when I'm on, I have it, it goes, it's good. I feel all right with it. I'm not saying it's brilliant, but I feel like I can produce, not produce like a producer, but I can produce material. And when I'm feeling less confident or something happens, like if I identify as a singer and I burn my throat, I feel shut down. It's like it just turns it off, and it's literally just coming back. So I stopped writing.
Yeah.
I just went into listen to other people and support other people mode. And then even just kind of dropped out a little bit. So it's like I'm just coming back and getting ready to like unpack the boxes again. So I still have yet to actually record anything, even though I think this is my second 100 days. But I'm not kicking myself in the butt. I'm just gonna let it happen in its own time. I think that'll work better for me because I guess everybody's in their own zone. I'm super impressed with other people's productivity. It amazes me. Because I feel like I'm driving a car without knowing how to drive stick. And that's how my songwriting goes. It's either in gear and I'm flooring it, or or I'm stuck on the side of the road. That's where I'm at.
You're right. I feel like you're writing a song about it right now as you're talking through it. Well, I find like for me, the simpler it is, the more I'll use it, right? So for when I'm writing a song, I just turn the voice recorder app, which is like the basic app on my phone. It's like, I can't actually share my phone because I don't know how to do that the way that, but if you go on your phone and look for voice memos, it's called. I don't know if you could see that. Just search for voice memos. It's very, very simple. You just press the record button and it records it. And I'll just record and I'll be noodling, playing around, noodling. I usually use OneNote or like a digital app for the actual lyrics because I like cutting and pasting and moving stuff around. And I could just grab a copy and save it and edit it and can go back. So I never feel like I kind of lose anything, you know. I also really love taking pictures or saving like memes or quotes or phrases, like if you're on Facebook and someone says like they share a really cool quote that might be a springboard to a song. I just press, it depends on what kind of phone you have, but you could just take a screenshot of your phone, right? And it saves to your photos. And then I could just look back through there for inspiration. So that's really quick and easy. And I can actually do it. I feel like if I have too many steps or it's too involved at this point, I just kind of, I don't have the grit to keep with it. So I try to keep it as simple as possible. Yeah.
I'm curious how much, so much of this is over my head. But like my phone, I think has 16 somethings of memory. And it's pretty full because I have like 6,000 photographs in the phone. And it's like my phone takes things away from me, and the phone will tell me you can't use this anymore. You have used more than your fair share of this memory or this app or whatever. So, and my phone is kind of giving up. So it's time to get a new phone. That's happened with everything that I've tried to use. Every tool I've tried to use, it's like, my laptop dies. I think I was on the phone or on a call with Kirsty when my laptop died, And so I'm talking to you from a new computer. And then it's like my internet died. So now I have a new internet service provider. And it's like I'm not being frozen out on all the Zoom things. So that's cool. So I need to get a new phone. How many? I have 16 things on this of memory or whatever. How many memories do you guys have as songwriters? And how much room is there for you to make the voice memo recordings? Like how many songs can you fit in there? Or like I'm thinking I should just never take another photograph so I can have room for songs because I've used it all up. So if I need a new phone, what do you guys use? It seems to be the tool.
Rick might actually. Do you have an iPhone?
I have an iPhone. I'm sort of,
Gwen, do you have an iPhone?
I'm also an Apple fan anyway. So, yeah, I mean, if you're using an iPhone, if you've been getting by with 16 gig, then 16 gigabytes is really what you've got, then, you know, more is always useful. If you take a lot of photographs, and recordings, I think, actually take up less space than photographs. So, you know, I mean, I think 32 is normal, 64 is always good. So 32 things in memory, 64 things in memory. More is always better, because you're always going to fill it up.
They have a new Apple phone. I have an SE with 16 things. What did you say, gigs?
Yeah.
Did you say gigs?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got 16 gigs on my phone. They've got a new Apple SE 2020 that has 64
Yeah.
gigs.
That's like 4 times as much, so it'll take a while to fill that up.
So if I don't hardly take any photographs, there would be a lot more room for songs. Like, how many songs like do you have on your voice memo, or you guys have in your voice memo section part of your phone?
I've got a lot of small stuff in mine. I'm not sure if it will tell me. Actually, I can see how much memory it's using, I think.
You know,
Look, I can tell you, my phone is 128 gigs, and I've only used 58 of them. And most of that is apps and video and actual music that I've downloaded. There's very little of it is music that I've recorded myself, but that's because I don't really record on my phone. But music it really doesn't take up that much memory.
Yeah.
Because if you think about a high definition video, it's got audio on it. So the audio for that, and a film is going to be 2 hours long. A song's 5 minutes long, and it's only the audio. It's not as much. I think 64 is fine. My previous phone was 64 and I never filled it.
you know, and what I usually do is at the very end, like if I have multiple recordings for one song, I will delete the stuff that I'm not going to want in the future. I only keep what I am going to use, or like a final one. It feels painful sometimes, but it's totally worth it, right? Because it's just, when you go back, you don't have to sift through. So I think that's part of it too, is at the end, and I move it off my phone as well, and I save it somewhere else. So I will, like, it syncs up to my Mac, like it syncs up to my computer, or you can email it to yourself or share it, right? So if you're in the voice memo app and you click on one, there's 3 dots, and you share or save. You can't see it, but share or save to files, and it'll save that file for you that you could take off as well. And I think photos, you could probably do the same thing. Save them somewhere else, but
I've tried. It won't let me take them out of the phone. I don't know why. I keep trying to put them on the computer, and it keeps saying no.
yeah.
So, thank you guys. You really helped me, and I feel like I just forced you to like have a grandmother moment. Like I'm the grandmother. I don't know how to use the phone. So I'm like, hey, how do you do? Can you fix this phone from where you are? Can you just tell me what button to hit? So thank you very much. I appreciate it. All of you.
Well,
Yeah.
it sounds like you're upgrading everything this year, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You bring up a good point too, that, you know, if you're using something like a phone for storing audio on, the audio is actually a relatively small compared to, you know, uses a relatively small amount of space compared to other things that you might use. Yeah, so I guess the next category in the toolkit thing was tools that we use to record. And I guess in some ways we've already gone through parts of that, but, you know, when I actually get around to actually doing serious recording, that's when I, you know, break out the laptop and Logic, and I have this Universal Audio Apollo interface that's probably way more powerful than I actually need for home studio stuff, but it was also going cheap. And I thought, you know, if I buy this, I won't need to buy anything else. So that's how I talked myself into it. And I have a spouse who is very supportive when it comes to spending money on things like that. So, so yeah.
What did you get, Rick? What's the thing that you bought?
It's an audio interface by a company called the Universal Audio. So basically, I can plug my guitar into that. I can plug microphones in. I can plug my keyboard into it, so everything comes in, and it's got lots of inputs. So basically, I can have everything plugged in at the same time. And the idea there is I don't have to spend time, you know, taking out a microphone, plugging it into the computer, setting everything up. So that's kind of the part of things for me that takes up the most time, and kind of it actually kind of puts me off recording sometimes, because it's like, oh, I've got to set all this stuff up before I can actually do anything. And you know, I'm lazy. I want instant gratification. I just want to be able to plug in and go. So the closer I can get to that, the better. It's one reason most of my recording tends to happen at the weekends, because I use this space for work during the week, because I work from home, and music at weekends, so I can plug my laptop into stuff and just leave it set up all weekend and ignore the work stuff until Monday comes along. But yeah, you know, right now I've got Logic and this very nice audio interface. I've got a MIDI interface as well, so I have a Yamaha synthesizer that I can use. You know, I can either use the voices that are built into it, or I can use it as a MIDI keyboard. So if I want keyboards for things, I can do that. And yeah, right now I've got just one. I've got a Shure SM57 microphone, and I've got a condenser mic that's a USB, so it doesn't go through the same audio interface. And I'm thinking I'll probably add a couple of condenser mics at some point for recording acoustic guitar and for recording violin as well. So yeah, that's kind of the recording toolkit. Does anybody else want to go through the actual stuff they use for recording?
Kirsty, please do, please do.
I know you're a GarageBand user, Kirsty.
Yeah, I'm on the bargain basement version of everything Rick's got. I saw an ad for the Universal Audio Apollo, and I clicked on it and looked at it and saw the price and went, and then I bought this this M Audio, it's upside down, M Audio interface, which was £70, and it has two inputs. One which is the microphone input, and one which is the 6.3 mil, I don't know what that is in inches, jack for guitar cables. And I just, because it's really just me using it, my electric guitar gets plugged in there, and then when I've done my electric guitar bit, or if I'm doing the bass first, I just use the same cable, unplug the electric guitar, put it down, pick up the bass, plug that in, and I'm away. I do have a guitar amp sitting in the corner here. I play through it for fun, but I generally just use the, well, not the presets, I mean, I tweak them a bit, but I just use the virtual amps in GarageBand, and I'm sure I will do in Logic when I get to grips with that. I have a little, tiny little MIDI controller keyboard here that I use. Like I cannot play keyboard, it is one note melody. That I would use this for, and possibly like after multiple passes build up chords. I really can't play keyboard, but it gives me that option, and that just plugs straight into the computer on USB. That doesn't need to go through the interface. I have a couple of small PreSonus monitors sitting on either side of the screen here, which I use really at the mixing stage rather than the recording stage. I tend to record just with headphones on. To minimize bleed, you know, one track picking up the sound of another track that you're playing along with. What else do you do? And I record into GarageBand at the minute, but I'm talking to you now on my new iMac, which arrived about a week and a half ago, and I've got Logic Pro on it. I'm working my way through a course And what the plan is, by the time we get to the EP challenge on whenever that is, 24th of July, something like that, that I hope to be able to record my EP or whatever comes out of it on Logic. But at the minute, I'm still using GarageBand. So that's kind of that. And then I use my combination instrument wise. I've got this bass, which is really, really dirt cheap bass. I've got a Mexican Fender Strat. I've got a nice Taylor, which is my lovely acoustic. And I've also got a Squire Strat, which isn't in here. And I keep it tuned on open tuning so that if I want to do a bit of slide, I don't need to start messing about with the tunings on the Fender. That's kind of it. Oh, on the microphone is a not particularly expensive, what is it? A Marantz MPM 1000. It was about £50, I think. And it's fine. It's way better. Up until about 6 months ago, I was recording on a USB microphone, and that USB microphone came free with the video game Guitar Hero. So this is definitely a step up.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's me.
I could go through mine. Mine's pretty straightforward. I have like just USB interface. It has like XLR or guitar cable. It has 2 channels, and it does have phantom power because I have like an SM58 and an AKG instrument mic, and I usually use one channel for vocals and the other for guitar or bass or whatever I'm trying to play. I use Logic. I can't figure GarageBand out. For the life of me, I can't figure it out. So I just jumped right into Logic about a year and a half ago, and it feels a lot easier to me. Yeah, I don't know why it's so confusing. So I don't know. I'm obviously missing something with the GarageBand. And then I got this, Akai MIDI keyboard. I also don't know how to play keys, and I've done very little with it. I'm sure it can do a lot more, and maybe I will eventually learn how to do more with it. But yeah, so that's pretty much my setup, like really straightforward. And I like Rick's comment about like kind of getting set up and just removing that friction between I'm weeding the garden, or I went for a walk, I came home, I'm going to sit down, and that 10 minutes it takes to get set up, like just trying to remove that as much as possible so that there's less friction around that. That's a really good idea. I should actually do that. Thank you. Thanks, Rick. That's a good idea.
Well, yeah, for me, it's just that's kind of a frustration thing, I guess. It's just like I said, it's an instant gratification thing. And then, yeah, now Gwen, you're kind of at a different extreme of this, because you have that, like, you bought that 24-track kind of physical studio thing as opposed to going to the software workstation approach.
Yes, it actually, even though I haven't recorded anything yet, I know I will. The DAW stuff really kind of scared me. I started with Audacity and then went through Cakewalk and a couple of other DAWs. I can't even remember what they are now. There was one that was like rock something. I don't know, but it was just really daunting to me. And I needed to go old school. And even though what I got is still digital because you record it onto an SD card, and then it has a cord when you're ready to export it to go into your computer, and it just, I don't know yet, I'll figure it out. But it's buttons that you can push and knobs that you can turn with your hands. So it's more, I think when I was in my 20s or 30s, hearing that a studio had 24 tracks was like everybody would go, ooh, that's state of the art. It wasn't like, you know, thousands or limitless tracks. It was everybody's goal was someday I'll get to record in a 24 track studio. So for me, psychologically, this feels like a forever dream come true that's sitting in front of me. But one of the reasons that everything's in a box as opposed to being laid out and ready to be recorded on or worked with is because I have vicious cats. And I'm protecting my kids over here, all the recording equipment. I mean, everybody's got a name. Each piece of equipment has a name. You know, like my 24 track is Joanne. So I'm protecting Joanne from the cats. But I'm really looking forward to the EP challenge because it's going to be an opportunity to take all these different things that I'm hearing about and I'm just going to force myself to do it. It's like I'm just going to force myself to do it, and whatever happens through it will be good, just because it will have happened. And that's life.
That's exciting.
I have to say, Rick, you might want to categorize yourself in so many different ways, but lazy is something that would never, ever cross my mind. If somebody said, how would you describe Rick? Lazy would not be the word.
Well, there's different ways to be lazy, I guess. But yeah.
So you're procrastinating from other things you should be doing by doing music?
Always an option. Yep.
Well, I notice it's three o'clock already.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed hearing about everyone's setup. I truly did. That was fun geeking out over that.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting, like, you know, as Gwen says, it's like having that tactile thing, like that can be really important, because I sometimes find like something like Logic is incredibly powerful, but sometimes it's like, okay, where was that dial and how do I turn it? And you know, like you can also like there's the sort of remembering how to do everything that it can do, and B, there's the getting lost in everything that it can do. And sometimes it can be, you know, like constraints can be creative. So sometimes it's better to actually not have all these toys, to have fewer toys to play with, so you can actually focus on getting something done. But again, I know that's a rabbit hole that I can very easily go down. And yeah, maybe one we can explore on a later subsequent episode.
I'd be interested in hearing more about the recording piece. I think, especially when we're getting close to the EP challenge, like that'll be more on my mind for sure, is like, how do I pull this off again and do better this time?
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for coming along tonight, or tonight, this afternoon, this is evening.
No, it is tonight for me. It's 10 o'clock.
Yeah. We didn't get any. Well, we had Mick briefly, so we could have said this morning, but yeah. So I don't know what's something that everyone's taking away from today.
My takeaway. Sorry, Gwen. Go ahead.
Oh no! I've spoken too much.
I think I have.
No.
All
right, Gwen, go.
Go ahead. I don't know what I was gonna say. I just I feel like what's really cool is we span the gamut here in terms of we each have our own individual things that we're working on, and we're at different places on the path, and I love that. I love that we're all so different. I like that. It makes it okay to be where you're at. It's like I'm okay to be where I'm at, even though I have no idea what you guys are talking about most of the time. That's all right. We're still in the same. I forget who was it. Rigel has talked about it. Was it Jeff or somebody said we're all at different places in the garden? we're all in the garden, but I don't know, something like that. Something about the garden.
It's a nice metaphor. Kirsty?
Yeah, my takeaway is definitely I'm going to have a folder with links to all these interesting stories and articles and quotes that are going to provide inspiration for my lyrical content in future. Because that is so many times I've got a la 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 melody and I'm thinking, what am I going to sing about? I can't just sing I love you, baby, because that's just tragic.
I'd say my takeaway is I'm gonna get set up and then just stay set up so that no matter, if I feel like recording, I could just sit down and do it. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do that right now, actually, after this.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm not sure what my takeaway is. I guess, maybe my process is working better for me than I thought it was. But yeah, there's definitely still things to fine tune.
Affirmation is a good takeaway.
I think that's always the thing, though. It's like, you can get something working and then you can always find ways to improve it. So, yeah. And yeah, something else I was just thinking about when we were talking about hardware, like recording hardware and so on. It's just remembering that the first Eurythmics album was recorded on 8-track, as was Sgt. Pepper.
Yeah.
So it's amazing what you can actually.
I actually think Sgt. Pepper was recorded on 4-track. I think the White Album was the first Beatles album on 8-track.
Yeah, you're right. Sgt. Pepper was recorded on 4 tracks that were synced.
Ah, there we go. And Abbey Road was 16 tracks, so they were really pushing the boat back then. I heard my favorite album of last year was oh God, I've forgotten her name now. Fiona Apple, recorded on GarageBand. Not even Logic, recorded on GarageBand in her house.
Yeah,
not sure it was properly mastered and everything, but still.
Yeah, which I think that really demonstrates it's not really about the gear. It's about having the ability to do the creative things with it.
Yeah.
Gear, like the gear can open up possibilities, but having the talent to do something with it is a whole different matter. Yeah.
Apparently, a really good tool to have is a river. Because I watched Muscle Shoals, which is a free movie on YouTube right now. And they were saying in the movie, it's really important to record somewhere near a river. That
I live in the prairies, so I live in the prairies, so
maybe an underground river for you.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not near a river, but I'm only about 4 miles from the sea.
I'm near a lake.
That'll count.
All right.
Yeah, and again, making your space like this creative oasis, I guess, right, is important too. Like some of those rooms, like Muscle Shoals, they were just so amazing. They just had a vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot why I even mentioned that, but it was about the idea that they started with a microphone in the middle of the room, recording the whole band, something like that. Although the singer must have been near a mic, but
yeah,
it was so simple. It was so simple, and we get so complex.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have that problem, but I don't think I'll ever get too complex, but yeah, the whole keep it simple idea. Although whatever works for anybody is good.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you all once again. Thanks for giving up your afternoon or evening, as the case may be. And we'll see you next time.
Lovely to see you all.
Thank you. Bye.